And so I try to make sure that she knows that her voice matters. Not only that it matters, but that we need it. Like, we need to know how you feel. The world needs to know how you feel. The world needs to know what your goals are. You need to.
Welcome to Career Mama Stories, where we talk to moms who not only have one career, they have two, raising their children and doing the work that they love. Enjoy.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
So my name is Fiona, and for my 9 to 5, I am a performance marketing manager for a family of apparel brands. And my daughter's name is Madison, and she's 7 and a half. And the half is very important.
Yes.
I had started a new job right before pandemic in January. And then the pandemic, I think everyone had to go home in March, I think is when all of that happened. And the job that I was in was so not aligned with me and anything. Like, it just felt very toxic, and I don't mean to like badmouth anyone. It just was totally not, it didn't align with anything. Yeah. So I was working really long hours, even though it was remotely. I ended up quitting in May, like during the pandemic. And I remember making a joke to someone, like, if I quit a job during a pandemic when everyone is gripping to, like, holding on for dear life to any job, it was bad. And I freelanced for a while, and then I got another job, which is where I'm at now. So we are now at the office. I had never been to the office, so now I'm just starting there. My daughter's in camp. She just started this week, actually, but she did go back to school the last month or two, which was really good for her. She really needed it. She needed to interact. Like, it was good for her mentally. I wasn't ready. It only happened because her dad was pushing, the school was pushing, and my mom, who is just as much as a nervous Nancy as I am, like, that's who I depended on to be like, no, you're making the right decision. She was like, maybe. So that was kind of what made it be okay to go back. Not okay, but made me make the decision to let her go back.
Right.
Our living situation is now changed from what it originally was during the pandemic because of the pandemic. So when the pandemic happened, she and I were living in an apartment, and it was just a loft. So it's my only girl. We just shared the bed. And she had a cousin from New York who moved to California, like a little bit before the pandemic. And they were living in the same complex, but across in another building. That was rough. And so when the pandemic hit, we didn't really see them because everyone was just being really separate. And so we were kind of alone. And my daughter, as an only child, it's even harder. She was doing school at home, and she kind of depended on the social interaction with her friends, because she's an only child. So, and then I was working from home. And then last August, we finally decided, her cousin and I. It's kind of interesting because she's technically my ex's niece, that we're close in age. Her daughter is close. She's a single mom too. So it's her and her daughter is close in age to my daughter. So we decided to get a house together so that they could have a backyard and like have more space and have their own room. And so that's the living situation and how it evolved because of the pandemic.
Right. So you needed to kind of create your own little village, right?
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, do whatever you need to do, Mama.
Exactly what it was. Yeah, so we created our own little village, and it's so like totally sidebar kind of, but it was just, it's so non-traditional, and I feel like in society oftentimes it's kind of like you kind of expect to like get married and then you get a house together with and when that doesn't work out, then what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
So it felt I think I had to deal with some things internally to like make it be okay that I was moving in with another mom, but it was just, I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a huge part of your story, right?
Yeah.
And the mental toll that the pandemic and the lockdown put, especially on us moms. I mean, you're
Yeah.
still trying to recover, I think. I know
Yeah.
you're in LA. Is it LA proper or LA County, that area?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So I know a lot of, it's like Portland, right? A lot of politics and controversy and
Yeah.
flip-flopping or not being able to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's still happening, right? If you want to talk about that, like how are you doing now? Is your daughter going to summer camps or childcare or anything? How's that going?
So now she's in summer camp. She's doing like a coding camp for Roblox, which she loves. And I'm back at the office now. So yeah, it did take an emotional toll because there was the toxic job, like trying to be parent and learn this new job that was really overwhelming. Also kind of being a teacher because now we're having to navigate virtual school while like trying to figure out and protect our mental health and physical health too. Trying to tend to my daughter's mental health too, like and emotional health through the process and help her not be so scared. It really did take a toll. Yeah. I think now we're in such a better place. And I don't even know that we've had time to like sit back and reflect and breathe and kind of heal from that or cope with that or identify it. So I feel like it's still, I don't know the right word, still in the process, still figuring it all out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do career coaching as my main job now. I also quit my job in July of last summer during the pandemic. Same thing, toxic work environment, gender bias. I mean, you could go on and on. And we had a new general manager. I had been there 9.5 years. And so that was really tough, especially because I was in a director's seat and we had to lay people off. And then I'm quitting after I laid people off. Right. And so all the shame and the guilt, and I mean, just you name it, it was going on. But these 16-hour days where things were flip-flopping, leadership couldn't keep up with what their employees needed. And then my mom actually showed up on our doorstep, literally needing a home. And so all of a sudden we became a sandwich generation. She needs to be taken care of as well. And so anyway, my daughter was home. And so I am fortunate that I have my husband. And then it took a toll on that relationship. So I can totally empathize. Just that. And also at the point of it's feeling things are opening, which is awesome, especially here in Portland. We were kind of one of the last states and then cities to really start opening back up in the country. And so that took a toll too, because it was hard to look across the land and see everyone else is like, oh no, my kids have been in full-time school for months. I'm like, what?
I know.
That would be really nice. Yeah. But then you also worry. And then some people said, well, they went back to school, but now, they have to close for 2 weeks if someone has a case. And so that actually makes it harder on us as working parents. And so the unpredictability. So you had a similar experience as I did. We both felt very compelled to kind of encapsulate the year and our experiences with our family. Can you tell me a little bit about where the inspiration to do your book came from and that journey with your daughter?
Yeah. So that one is kind of multi-layered. So we wrote a book together that is based on her experience during the pandemic, but included in that is like it's her experience as an only child within a co-parenting dynamic and us being really ethnic and diverse. And it's like rooted in so many things, like obviously the pandemic. And then the other like major component was the representation. So we're Black, like I'm half Black and I'm half Latina. So, and then her dad's Black and she's Black. And so that's something I've always known we would have to talk about. When she was born, I knew we would eventually have to have these conversations, But what I was not prepared for was how young that would start. And it started at 3 when someone made her aware of her differences. I'm going to try not to get emotional no matter how many times I talk about this. It's just like, so we had to start really young talking about just like going through all of it. And it's such a heavy, layered, seemingly complicated, but not really, but humans make it complicated thing that is really hard to explain and break down to a 3-year-old. To anyone, but then especially a 3-year-old. Like, how do you simplify this so that you can help her rebuild herself? So that's something we've like been dealing with in the way that I tried. Like, there's no rule book. We don't know how to do this. So the only thing I could think was to try to like restore her confidence and self-image through letting her see herself reflected in the world around her, which is what the big missing piece was. And so I've always been really conscious of like making sure she sees her aesthetic, and she's darker skinned. So that was like an added layer. Like, it's just, there's so much. So because of that, she even started to notice, like, call out differences between she and I, and like feeling, she just felt very alone in her world. And so that was a big reason for wanting to create the book, to have representation of our specific family and aesthetic, because I know we're not the only mixed family. And so I made sure to include in there like her grandparents, my parents, who are a biracial couple. So, you know, my mom is Ecuadorian, my dad's Black, and she calls my mom abuela, and she calls my dad grandpa. And so I like included those into the book, and just trying to really focus on the representation aspect of it. But then also I wanted it to serve as like a time capsule for her, because she's still so young, and I don't know how she's going to remember this time. And it's so monumental, right? Like, this is huge. We're going to be talking about this forever. And she lived through it in such an important foundational time of her life. And I don't know the impact it's going to have. And so I wanted to have this like reference of the emotions that she felt during this time, because I'm sure it'll show up later in some way. And she'll kind of have this like reference, like, oh, we did this, like I had this feeling and we dealt with it this way. And hopefully it helps. And even if it doesn't help, just to like have it as a reference, like, this was my experience during that time. I probably won't remember all of the details. And then the last aspect of it was just the business part of it, like helping her to start something and then finish it, like see it through to completion, and then monetizing it and understanding the logistics of running a business. So she was involved in the entire process, from helping with the copy. We had an illustrator, but she and I both would review the illustrations and tweak it and, you know, ask for changes. So she saw it through from the beginning to end, and then having it go on the website and like looking at how to track the orders, like when they come in, how much, breaking down how much she gets, and like, so that whole process too. And now I think that's it.
Oh, I love it. My gosh, we're like on parallel wavelengths. So women empowering women, and I always say women empowering women begins at home, right? We can't take that for granted, because there are some families where girls and women are disempowered at home. And so it sounds like you have that same kind of drive in you. Like, you have your beautiful one and only daughter, just like I do, where we want to make sure that they've got great examples and they get opportunity. And so the coining of the phrase career mama is what we came up with here in our house, trying to figure out how do you phrase it or name it a little bit differently. Because it's one thing to be a working parent. It's another when you have a career and like a mission behind it. And so that was part of the reason we wrote our book together too. And so, yeah, very similar situation, in where I wanted to get her experience in there. We worked with an illustrator as well to go through all the renditions and the edits. And I don't know if you found this to happen with your daughter. My daughter started kind of drawing her own pictures and kind of putting together some story.
She like made a book. Actually, I think that might have been the inspiration. She was making like book, you know, like drawing on paper and writing a little story, stapling it together.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, we should do that for real. I
Right.
mean, not for real, like that is still for real. That is her for real, but to the next level.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the very beginning of it, actually.
Oh, I love that. That's again something we can't take for granted because so many people have ideas to write books, but they don't follow through
Yeah.
or get to that point. And so good on you, Mama. You like made it happen. It's not easy. I found that out too.
I know. And we got so lucky with the book, like the feature, and then like it did so well on social, and then we got featured on OWN. I think I mentioned that to you.
Saw that. Yes, amazing. How did that happen? Did you have a connection or?
No, it happened through Instagram, very randomly through a DM. And it just happened. I thought it was spam. I thought someone had hacked an account. And so I like went on LinkedIn to the casting agency, like their verified page. And I was like, hey, I'm getting this message. You should know because they're duplicating your account. And they were like, no, it's legit. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Well, I'm gonna switch gears just for a second. I want to mention the Career Mama book, which I don't think you've seen. I want to make sure you get a copy too.
Yes, please. I was just
so I'll get your address at the end so I can send one.
So this is the book you guys did together?
Yeah, these are some illustrations, just some snippets, and I intentionally left the words off because what I wanted capture today is kind of your reaction and if anything resonates with you from your own experience working from home and being with your daughter. Do any of the 6 illustrations stand out more than others to you?
5 and 4 definitely, but then also like 3 and 2 like figuring out, but it was like 4 and 5 were the dominant ones during the pandemic of trying to balance motherhood and work and being completely stressed out by it. And then 3 and 2 are like the ones where you're having to make a concerted effort to spend that time and include my baby in my day and in my process.
Awesome. Yeah, we the words, when you get the book, you'll see it's told through the daughter's eyes. And so this, I'm hoping, will be the first in a Career Mama series of books talking about career changes with moms, because we don't really have a way to normalize that conversation within the household. Like you said, there's so many things unprecedented and representation. And so I might turn to you later to get your story as do you go by Black woman or Black Latina woman?
So I go by Black Latina. I fully embrace both of my cultures and races. My daughter, because she's predominantly Black and she identifies with Black, that's what I go with for her.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I want to have better representation in the future of multiple families being featured. Obviously, this one was pandemic, like we're locked down in our home, so we only were the ones, the characters. But in the future, getting out and about, and as a career coach, I get to talk with so many moms about their careers, right? So the idea will be to take like a mom that goes on maternity leave and then is going back to work. How do you have that conversation and things like that? So big career changes for moms. And this past year has given us so much content and material. So that's the goal with the book, is to create like a little series. So daughters and moms, especially, I mean, boys, of course, it's great to have that conversation too, but in particular, moms and daughters. So
love this. Congrats.
Thank you. It's so exciting, isn't it? To be able to complete.
And I love these illustrations. They're so cute.
Thank you. I spent a lot of time finding my illustrators, actually from Malta, a young woman.
Ooh, ours is from
pretty
India.
Cool. I'll stop sharing. So yes, I'll get your address at the end to give you a copy.
Thank you. And we'll send you one of ours too.
Oh, that would, yes, please, because I haven't had a chance to order it. That would be great. A book exchange.
Yeah, we'll do a book exchange. I love it.
I love it. Another thing I wanted to ask you, from the standpoint of a mom raising a daughter and from women empowering women just in general, is there anything you'd like to share as far as what you would like to see for our daughters' generations? And in particular, we're talking about women empowering women, but just kind of gender bias and women in the workplace in general and raising children?
Such a good question. Definitely, yes. So I think what I would like to see, and I feel like we're starting to see the shift. Like we're now starting to listen more to women and at least acknowledge that there are gaps that need to be closed when it comes to women versus men, and how we make our money, how we move through life, like the titles and the expectations that are placed on us as women that are not fair oftentimes. And I think that's something that I really try to communicate to my daughter, just in the sense that she doesn't have to carry that burden that society has placed, and that it's not an us issue. Like it's a societal issue, and it's a symptom. It's something that needs to be resolved, and we don't have to co-sign that narrative that we're less than, that we're not as worthy, that we're not this, that we need to be this, and all of the things, and be perfect and not complain and not ask for more money. And so, which translates to me into being brave and courageous in the sense of owning your voice, and like doing it scared. Because I think when you're conditioned in the way that most women have been conditioned, sometimes it's hard to speak up and to speak against and to advocate for ourselves. And so I try to make sure that she knows that her voice matters. Not only that it matters, but that we need it. Like we need to know how you feel. The world needs to know how you feel. The world needs to know what your goals are. You need to know. You need to be able to identify, like, this is what I want in life, and not be discouraged by ignorance and fear. And but then also making sure that she understands that it's not always going to be easy. Like knowing like what you're up against, I think that's an important part, because if you go into it blindly, it can knock you down, right? So if you understand that there are these roadblocks, but they're not, you didn't create them, and they're not your burden alone. Like it's not just you, because I think that's an important thing, to not feel so alone in our challenges and struggles. And I think that's where the Women Empowering Women comes in. I think a lot of times in different industries before, it was almost like competition. Like you couldn't help the next one because you might be sacrificing the little bit of rope that you have. And we're now, like, collectively as women, I think I've seen more and more that now we're starting to just not co-sign with that. We're like, no, we can help each other, and together we are more powerful. So like the unity that we're seeing across like social media, and just even, like in life, when you're out and about, recognizing, acknowledging, and celebrating women, all of our differences, all of our commonalities, and like supporting each other through our endeavors, and just like that overall cheerleading, I guess, for one another is so important. And it's like, so that is how we move mountains slowly. Like that is how we start this process of changing and growing and evolving. And like in terms of like as that relates to like raising our children, leading by example. So if my daughter sees me celebrating, which she does, like celebrating, supporting, acknowledging, and just loving on other women in the sense of like, support and friendship and all of that, then she'll know to do the same thing. So it's just, as with everything, it starts at home in the sense of the way that you move. Like they're watching what you do. So if you're exemplifying those behaviors, then it becomes the norm. Like, oh no, this is what we do. We support each other. Yep. For us, that was just the very easy one, was moving in with her cousin. Like we came together as women. We were like, all right, we're going to better your situation here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great example. Completely love everything you just said. Yeah, I totally resonates with me, because one thing that can happen too, for instance, is some women have the tendency to gossip, right? And I always say positive talk about other women is good gossip. Like, let's do that.
Exactly.
But the bad gossip, like what can happen in the workplace too, is like exactly what you said, where one woman maybe even, and for lack of a better word, like kind of jumped on the patriarchy wagon, and that's how she got to where she was. And so, yeah, other women come along, and it's yeah, sometimes there's words out there too, like can be very controversial. Drop the CEO, it's a CEO, I'm a CEO. And so then, yeah,
right.
like that's one example of where it can be confusing, because it's like, I agree that it needs to be more equalized, but are we there yet?
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. It's very similar to like a Black Lives Matter conversation, where do you drop the Black lives out of Black Lives Matter, right? Because we're not there yet. So you still have to announce it in a way.
And someone had put, like, specific to the Black Lives Matter, which can just kind of translate into anything that still requires growth and evolution, is, I don't remember the exact wording, but essentially it was like, you know, the goal is all lives matter, but until we get there, it's Black Lives Matter. So it's just recognizing and acknowledging. It's just don't be dismissive. So, and that in anything, in any injustice, like recognizing and acknowledging that there is an injustice and that there is work to be done, and know, like, yes, this is the goal, but here's the work that we still need to do to get there. Because otherwise it becomes gaslighting, right? Then it's just dismissive, and you're like, no, this doesn't, no, everyone's equal, everything's fine.
Yep.
I would love if we could mention the newest project that we did. So we have now affirmation cards. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. The light might be too bright. So they're affirmation cards for kids, and the whole idea was for them to be inclusive. So let me see if I can just show you a little bit. So it's like kids from all walks of life, and you can't really tell in here, but we have like the wheelchair, and then there's a kid somewhere like with the walking stick whose vision is impaired, and then there's like the kid with vitiligo. And so I would love if we could just mention that, because those are the newest project that just got released.
I love it. Where can people buy those?
It's only available on our website. I'll send you the link. It's a bit.ly, because it's kind of just an extension through my like work, my professional website.
Okay.
I can send you the link.
Okay, Fionna, thank you so much. If I ever get down to LA anytime soon, I would love to meet up with you.
Yes, definitely. And vice versa. I have a friend who lives in Oregon, so it's actually possible that we'd be there.
Yes, please call me when you have that chance.
Will.